as much as we try to do as much as we could in the UK as South African community, we have our gatherings, but it's not the same as when you go home and you help those people who are in need and they appreciate it, and you feel blessed and you feel that you are doing something to change the aspect of the socio-economy of the country.
Thank you for that sharing. All right, you said we should move on, look for a way to better our life, and of course, by extension, also better the society where we live. I think that is very important. Now, but in that, moving forward, what would you say, or what would you give us as a kind of reflection in terms of what is going on to make life better in South Africa?
Right. I'll be specific from something that is practical. Obviously, we have to join hands and work together. Be one, be united as a community as South Africans, as Africans, as the continent, and around, obviously, globally. This is one of the things that has been, it's always been on the back of my head, that in order for us, what are the solutions for us to move forward, and what are the solutions we can come up on, since we are the generation that is coming up, and we're looking at leaders who are coming out from this generation. That's why I wrote the book, and the book was The Plagiarism from God. Obviously, I will also introduce it later on a later stage, but it was trying to find the solutions of how do we rise from what we thought it was impossible and achieve the standard where we could be proud of our economy, we could be proud of ourself, our politics, and our being as well. Because the book is more on taking back the Ubuntu, which is humanity. It speaks a lot about that. It speaks a lot about being you and who you are, and obviously with I would say the mandatory that the mandate that God has given you and us as African, that we should practice Ubuntu, which I find that it has the aspect of so many things under it that can better and we move forward. If we can have that within ourselves, and then we can be able, some other things will just attract through having that aspect of a certain person who's taking in charge his mandate of Ubuntu.
Now, how did you start to write? Let's move into your book a little. Let's first of all try to understand you get it into writing. Then, of course, we'll move into the book itself. So tell me, how did you start to write? What moved you into, or what do you like about writing?
I'll be honest with this. We used to have a youth club. I was very active. I was very active back in South Africa, and we used to have this youth club. It was the organization, actually. It was Kulisa organization. I'm sure probably now it's a bigger in South Africa. It was the non-government organization. So we used to facilitate different programs and different projects. And the project that I joined, it was the Making It Better, which was the youth group who were facilitating workshops in schools and facilitating counseling and doing programs such as My Path, facilitating workshops in prison for the juveniles and the minor offenders. We used to have programs such as restorative justice in prison, and it was part of how we can uplift the youth and how we can face the situation that we were faced with, which is more of probably I would say crime, and try to change the thinking of those youth and trying to find jobs for them and find something for them to do. So it was during that time when we were having, we call it creative writing workshops. And that's when I figure out that, you know what, I like writing. Actually, I love telling stories, but they're always on my mind. Up there. And then I always try to find solutions when I come with ideas that, oh, okay, I look at something, even still now, I would look at something and I would wish to do the research on it, that, oh, okay, so how A and B, how can they connect, how we can get the resolution, how we can get the answers of this and that. So it was during that time when obviously we were on that space of trying to find things, trying to find yourself, that what is it that you like, what is through that creative writing that changed my life and that changed my mindset. And ever since, it has stayed with me that I love writing. But it didn't end there. Funny enough, I did library information studies in South Africa through UNISA. First it was Technical SA and then through UNISA. And it is now when I reach UK and writing this book, and it is when it revealed everything that actually I do like writing. Actually, I do like telling stories. I love the books. It can be just physically books, because when I'm thinking that out of everything, I decided to do library information studies, and people were like, what is it with you taking that qualification? But I just love cataloging. I just love books. I get fascinated in them. I just go on my own little world. I love escaping and zooming to my little world. And when I first started writing this book, it was during lockdown. So during lockdown, obviously, you know that we had to stay home. I think I stayed home for a year because obviously we were with the lockdown, not everything functioning, and I was working in travel agency by then in financial bureau. And obviously we couldn't do anything, no flights were going out, so we were followed to stay home. We were getting paid, but we were staying at home. So by that time, that's when I got to take the chance of writing my book. And I remember, because most of the time I was meditating a lot. You know, when you are home not doing much, I was trying to be this good, you know, bringing this good, healthy ways of living, you know, meditating, exercise. So then that's when this book came about, and I was in deep thoughts on that how are we going to get out of this? Because I remember thinking that with this COVID, obviously most families has lost their loved ones, they lost their relatives, they lost their community members, you know, their colleagues and stuff. But what is it that can heal the world from this? And I remember looking outside, and the first thing that came was the sound of the birds outside, and looking at the trees that were green, and it was so peaceful. It was still, the whole world was stand still. And it was when you realize that there's nothing else that we could have done, but it's God. It's God through everything. You're looking at those birds happy, you know, singing outside. You wake up, there are no cars in the road, no flights, no pollution, no whatsoever. But the only thing that survived, that was not stand still by that time, it was nature.